welcome back to another Study Tip Tuesday. I'm very excited. So for today's study tip, we are going to talk about making tables and charts. This may seem like a very simple concept, but I bet you probably are not doing this as you study. And this is a really great tool when you're studying to really compile everything and see all the information that you have in a more confined space. And it makes it really easy to compare things, to see kind of the whole picture. I just think it's a lot easier to see everything and memorize stuff when I have one page of information instead of 40 slides of tidbits, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you some different ways that I've used charts and tables in my studies. I'll show you some examples that you can use for other classes, and I'll show you some examples that I have from previous classes. I was going to show you more examples that I have actually done, but I recently went on a cleaning purge of my apartment and threw away a lot of my old notes that I know I'm not going to look at again. And I forgot to think about my YouTube channel, and then I might want to show those. So I'm so sorry about that. But I'll show you some examples, so hopefully you can kind of get an idea of different ways that you can use charts and tables in your studies. And hopefully you start implementing some of these things so it makes your studying a little bit more fun, a little easier, and hopefully you do better on your exams, which is kind of the point of everything. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so here's a first example of how you can use these tables and charts in a biochemistry class. Again, I'm just giving you examples, so just take some of these examples and adapt them to what will be beneficial for you in your classes. But this is something that I had to memorize in my biochemistry class, so I thought I would show this to you. So for this topic in this class, my professor made us a really awesome PowerPoint with all this information about the different vitamins, with pictures and everything. But the PowerPoint was like 60 slides, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to keep flipping through all these slides, and it's kind of hard to learn everything because it's just, by the time you're, on the 30th slide, you forgot what you already looked at. So I took out a piece of paper, and I compiled it all into a big table so that I could see all of the different vitamins. So the first thing I did was write the name of the vitamin. So I would write the letter, like if it's B1 or whatever it is, and the name, so thiamine, niacin, whatever it is. And then, is it water or fat soluble? We had to know that. So I would just write water or fat in that column. The functions of that vitamin. So what does it regulate in the body? What is the point of that vitamin in the body? And then I would write down, if you were deficient in that vitamin, what disease would you get? What would it cause in the body? Because we had to know all of that. For the vitamin, you could also write down the structure or draw out the structure if your professor wants you to know that as well. So this really helped me see everything on one page and made it a lot easier. So here's an example from a microbiology class how you could use tables and charts. So obviously you're learning a ton of organisms in microbiology. So I did this a lot to just see everything on one paper, again, because we would have like 60 slides of different organisms and it was very confusing. So I would write the name of the organism, characteristics of that organism. So is it gram-positive, gram-negative? Is it a cocci? Is it, things like that. So that would help me memorize what it looked like. The disease states if it caused. So did it cause cholera or things like that? And then if there's a specific medication that we can take to combat that organism. So different drugs, different antibiotics, things like that. And so, of course, if your professor needs you to memorize different things, you would just add different columns. Another example is heart medications. So just medications in general. I did use flashcards a lot to memorize medications, but sometimes it's easy to see like the same class all on one paper. So of course you would write the brand and generic name of the drugs down. I would write the class. So for your heart medications, you can have your beta blockers, your calcium channel blockers. And then write the indication. So what is that medication indicated for, and then what dosage forms does it come in. And I really like to color code as well. You can see all these are color coded, and that really helps me visualize it too when I'm taking an exam. I can see in my head what color it was on the paper, and that really helps me remember things as well. Okay. This might be a throwback for you for high school or middle school, but Venn diagrams are really great at comparing two things. So for the example I gave here, I'm talking about type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Two different types of diabetes, obviously. But this is a way that you can compare the two disease states. So a lot of times your professors want you to know the differences between disease states or between medications or whatever. So in the first circle, you would write characteristics of type 1 diabetes. The second circle, you would write characteristics of type 2. And then in the middle, you would list any similarities that exist. And that just really helps you understand what is similar and what is different between these two types of diseases. And it seems simple enough, but it really does help when you're going to take a test when you've done things like this, because you've thought critically about the material and you're really able to analyze the question better and then answer it correctly, which is what we all strive to do. Okay, now I'm going to show you examples of how I use this technique in my pharmaceutics class. So here is a table that I made when we had to learn the different solvents used as excipients in different dosage forms. So I just made columns, and see how it's color-coded as well. I really like to color code because that really helps me memorize. But I just made a column of the name of it, what it looks like, what its appearance is, what the percent, volume is of alcohol to water if it was given, and then any other information about it that we needed to know. Here you can see I'm comparing zero order and first order kinetics. Notice that I have them in two different colors side by side, easier for me to remember. I have the different equations written out and the different profiles, the graphs written out, which we needed to reproduce on exams. So seeing that visually really helped me compare the two. I knew which side of the paper zero order and first order were on, so it was easy for me to reproduce that during an exam setting. So I really recommend doing that. Same thing here. I have strong acids and bases, weak acids and bases, comparing them side by side. And then weak acids and weak bases, comparing those side by side. We really needed to know a lot about that, so that's why it's written really large. Different colors again. And I outlined the key equations, the key formulas that we needed to know side by side. So you have very similar formulas, but a little bit different. So having them side by side, it was really easy for me to see those differences, and therefore I remembered them a lot easier. Here's just another paper of very similar information. We had to know a lot about weak acids and bases. So again, I'm just comparing the two, drawing out my profiles, and that made it a lot easier because I was able to visually see it in my mind from the paper during an exam, and that was so helpful. Okay guys, so I hope this video helps you kind of figure out where in your studies you can fit in using tables and charts to help learn the material. I know for me in pharmacy school, I've used this strategy in almost all of my classes, if not all of them. And it's really helped me take all that information that we're learning and really consolidate it and see it all on one paper. And it's really helped me to learn a lot of that material. So I really hope this helps you. If you use this strategy in your classes, go ahead and comment below and tell us kind of what material you're learning and how it helped you. That would be really helpful for people. And of course, don't feel like you have to use this for every class, for every chapter in every class. No, just use it where you feel it's helpful, right? It's just another strategy for you to have in your pocket. So if you are struggling kind of with a topic and you have all this information, or you have things that you need to compare, it's just a way for you to really consolidate everything and see it on paper, and just makes it a little bit easier. So again, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, as always, you can either comment below or message me on any of my social media or through my email account, which is all in the description box and at the end of this video. As always, you can message me for any questions you have. I'm always there to help you. If you like Study Tip Tuesday, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video.